Hey guys, this is me, Chris, and George. And this morning we're gonna have George play Crazy Stone at 1 Dan level. The idea is we're gonna be getting his insight into the moves and the questions he has. He'll be asking mostly Chris. Now we've done this before with Chris playing at the computer at a high level, and we see his perspective on how to win. We've had me do it, and I ask Chris questions, and now we're having George do it, and it's hopefully different perspectives for different people. Okay, you guys are all seeing this. I need to just somehow see these two. Let's try this. Okay, so black plays there. That's the computer's play. I'm going to be stumbling a little bit here. White, black. Okay, that's probably it.
Okay. It's a high approach, signaling George wants to break up the side and emphasize center.
I'm white.
Oh, you're white. Oh,
yeah, I'm white.
He's done even better. So the bot wants to take all the center power.
Okay. So I see my options as to cut, Q6, or to respond in the top right, or play anywhere else, because we just have a 1 versus 1 situation in the top.
I've gone ahead and denoted them with letters.
Yeah, great.
Just so people have a visual later in the video of what it is that you're planning to explore.
It felt quite difficult to really have a rational reason to choose one over the other, but I imagine pretty much anything is fine at this point.
Yeah, as is the case with most things in the opening.
I'm just thinking that if black gets another move at B, then perhaps that helps with the A situation.
Okay.
I'm just going to play calmly at B. Let him figure out what next to do. Okay, so O3 comes to mind, especially because him playing some kind of P3 move, I think would really help build up the left side. And this is 1 Dan. Is it Lance?
Yeah.
Okay. So he has. So he's overextended. Usually we extend 3 space from a 2-snare high wall. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to come in now, for sure not. Seems too early to do anything like that. So I think the question for me is whether I need to respond again in the top right. But I don't think that's necessary at this point. If it was 1 closer to my slings, then I'd be more likely to want to respond. But especially because it's given me a bit of leeway there, I'm going to play away.
I think it's interesting that it went 4 spaces away from the 3-stone wall. That's something that we might want to keep in the back of our head for later.
Situation, I quite like playing this move because I have a strong stone at O3. So I like the idea of kind of pushing my opponent towards that strong structure.
Yeah.
And playing the other side at F3 it looks kind of a bit small, especially this early in the opening.
You agreeing with him so far, Lance?
Not entirely.
Let's talk about it.
Well, for viewers, the board you're seeing is interesting. Chris gave us a board where all three of us have control. We can all place stones at the same time. We can all make marks. I've never seen that before. It's interesting. So, where's the pass? I'm concerned about the health of this group and how it can become very little. That's my concern. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I thought you were going to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
very, very often the spacing of this A stone is deliberate to avoid counterattacking post the invasion. So if you imagine, right, black sweeping out the base with something like R17 and forcing white to become this small concentrated clump of stones, that stone being at R11 instead of R12 means that white doesn't have as easy a time pinching that stone to then use the strength of the new group white makes. Right? Like if we can imagine for a second, this type of variation where white has got this group, we can have white get strong in any number of ways. Okay, we'll say white strong. There's a big difference between black being at A versus black being at B next to this group. If we take the black stone and we shift it one line higher, it's a little bit easier for white to play moves like this that can come in and bother it, or for white to play things like shoulder hit and hane and double hane to try to press it down from on top, stuff like this, right? But when it's further back here, the pincer is a bit harder to manage because now when black jumps, there's no clean connection underneath anymore.
okay.
So the issue is not that white is weak and therefore white should defend, but rather that if black comes in, the strength that I gain won't be as efficient as it would be otherwise.
Right, and that's the meaning of the R11 placement, is to reduce the efficiency of that group after black invades you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so therefore, because so therefore we're more likely to want to take the profit in the corner. Let's play another move there. Because if black comes in and takes the corner away from us, the strength that we get isn't as effective as it would be otherwise. So perhaps that's the reason that we might want to play another move in the corner.
He's thinking.
A little bit. I mean, it's probably going to be fine, this position, either way, regardless. It's just the one thing that the details we just went over, the things that I would keep in mind is like the consideration for if you're in this position again.
So you would have also Tanuki? You wouldn't have followed up there?
My inclination is to Tanuki, but because I like points and I like playing fast.
Yeah.
And I think that if I defend, the only way I can defend in Sente is to kick. Right? Like if we go back one, I'd have to defend it like this. And kicking makes sense if I'm planning to follow it up. But if, like, let's say I kick and then I Tanuki, it's a bit strange. Black can defend or black can ignore. My inclination personally is to, when I see a position like this, I like to take territory quickly. So I would be probing the corner with something like the 3-3 to see what it is that black actually wants to do. And then in this position, when black goes for this variation, I'm going to Tanuki again.
At this point.
Yep. A bit more of a complicated strategy, but since I know that I can't get an efficient result by defending entirely, I'm just going to treat the 3 stones as if I'm reducing black's corner, and I'm going to take a different corner and trade.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a bit complicated, but I just don't like dealing with problems.
Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind is e5, which I'm quite happy to say because usually I just completely forget about this strategy. Not that I will play it necessarily, but I'm glad it's on my radar. Another local move that I would consider is d10, or perhaps c3. I'm trying to think of the meaning behind e5 and then the slide at b4. I think I think the idea behind that exchange is that it prevents black from then pushing white down.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the press. I'm always a fan of the press. I think it's objectively just a good move most of the time. I don't really have much to comment on this one.
And am I correct in saying that one of the reasons for playing this move is to prevent the black pushing white down?
I think George is asking about
like slide
just
versus
pressing
press.
down.
Yes,
Is that what you're talking
exactly.
about?
Okay. Yeah. The pressing exchange at e5 certainly helps prevent this because in this case you can't wedge here. Wedge isn't really working. But if you have the exchange already in place and then black tries, now all of a sudden you can cut. All right, this exchange AB is helping this cut. And that's one of the reasons why we want to make it, right? But the other reason we want to make this exchange is because by doing this, what we have essentially done is we've transitioned this position into we have 2 light stones next to 3 black strong stones. And the amount of investment white needs to have in the local area diminishes significantly from this point. Because if black is already being treated as strong stones, then anything white plays next to it is going to be not very impactful. And so white can kind of free themselves of the burden of having to commit to turning this into a group. White may
over my head.
You're saying that white can Tanuki now?
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Because the A stone can still settle multiple directions. You can still take a base, you can still slide in the corner, you can still run to center. The stones are not in danger.
Yeah.
So
actually, when I when I played 2, it felt a bit strange in a way because I'm playing so close to such a strong black group.
Right, and it's 2 is not a bad move. It's a good move locally that gets a little bit of profit for white trying to take the base, right? And it creates a Miai that makes it very easy for white to live. And if white's plan is to live directly with the corner, then the slide will make sense. But then at a high level, I would ask the person, okay, you're going to play this move and live in the corner. Why? And that seems like maybe a strange question, but you know, at a really high level, even simply defending a group needs to have a follow-up purpose. If you're gonna take the effort to play a move potentially in Gote to make something strong, like you need to have a good reason for it. On this board, the reason could just be you don't want to give your opponent a strong fight because you don't know how to handle the 2 stones lightly, or you're not confident to reduce the area later. In which case, B4 is a great idea because then you prevent that from happening. But if you have the skill set where you can treat the stones lightly, and you're not really worried about the pincer, then you get a little bit more flexibility and you don't necessarily have to commit to a move like this. You know, so a lot of it is sort of prerequisite on where your skill set in Go lies, like what tools in your arsenal are sharp versus dull.
Okay, so all of that is way over the top. I mean, that's high level stuff. Appreciate you sharing. Just like that's hard. So, white played here.
I can't imagine that being a very good move, I have to say.
Um,
Black's already pretty strong. I don't think black needs to follow up. Having said that, if black didn't play that, black played elsewhere, and then I get this move in, I do have the support of my very strong group. So perhaps, yeah, I'm not quite sure how to think about that. But still, I think those black stones are pretty strong, and it feels a bit early to play such a move. So defending against that seems not the best for me.
And so naturally, Crazy Stone defended it.
Yeah. Okay, so black played away from my group, so there's no need for me to play c3 or c9. My flag thought is playing c14 because it is extending from my group in the bottom left and kind of probing black. Which I think I prefer to c17. Try again. Okay. I'm quite tempted to play the same way again. So I think it works quite well with my group on the bottom. Okay, so now I've learned that I don't need to follow up here necessarily. Something that comes to mind is the kick at p17 and the pinch. But still, b16 is a nice territorial move. It's a corner-orientated move, which I like.
Yeah.
And perhaps the p17 kick and then pinch is a little bit vague. It's such an early, it's relatively early in the, well, still in the opening. So I'm just going to play this simple move.
Okay, that's good. I would call this one a bit of a style choice. Is more what I would chuck it up to when you've got a lot of these different options and they seem like they could all be more or less the same. Really just depends on the type of game you want to play at that given moment.
Okay. I think that's probably not a very efficient move on black, I imagine. So I've kind of said that I want to develop the left, so I feel like I should kind of follow through on that and play like a d12 or possibly d11 move. I'm only thinking of d11 because I have this support at e15.
Yep.
So perhaps I can go a little bit further, but I'm not quite sure about that. Okay. As you said, yes, I will play there.
I say yes for two reasons. Because A, if you're uncertain, there's no better way to figure it out than to try it. Generally speaking, if I may borrow control for a moment, if we look at the shape without white having a stone here, and we have white tanuki, so black gets the next move. Back in the day, we used to consider this Ogema to be not such a great move. There are two main reasons why this Ogema is usually considered to be a bit weaker locally than the knight's move. The first one is that it doesn't actually stop black's invasion. So black can still hit the vital point, this move, and sometimes it can be very awkward for white to handle it. Because black can do things like kick next, or black can do things like extend and hane. And at this point, black is going to live. You're not going to be able to stop the life and death here without a stone around c8 previously have been being played, right? Like if you block, black can come down or black can extend. And if black lives here, normally black doesn't have this move here. How useful is the white wall going to be with a cutting point at A next to a strong black stone at B?
not very valuable.
Right, because if we just, let's say, as it's white to play here, if white wanted to attack the corner, the standard attacking move was this one for the longest time. But it's very difficult for white to get away with this kind of attacking placement when white has the pressure of this cutting point at A, and black kind of always has that move as a backdoor to save the corner or gain extra territories. Like, white will be able to live locally, but is the living enough in the face of something like this, right? You know, either that or turn or knight's move or whatever. And then if this white group has to run, and this black group gets to cover in Sente, then it eventually gets to go around you, and then all of a sudden the white group has to live in the center, and then you spent 10, 20, 30 moves playing on Dame to make sure you have two eyes. When at the very beginning, when you first make the shape, you're like, oh, left side is going to be a nice territory. In the end, you got 0 points in a group with two eyes. Right? So what ends up changing with this exchange is that now when black invades, white can extend. And so this is the technical detail. And the life and death becomes a little bit harder because now white can block. Right? And if the jump comes, okay, the jump comes, but the black group is not locally alive in this shape, whereas in the other one it was. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
I got it.
Nice.
Yeah, this one's just a very technical reason. But this is why in a real game situation, you would try it to see if it works, or if in like study, you would examine it and play out variations to see if it actually changes anything. In this case, it does. So I think D11 is a fine move. Yeah. And then black played this one. This is where we left off.
Okay. First thing that comes to mind is M4 to attach on the top to kind of get my group out and to over concentrate black. I'm just thinking if black can really do any damage following up here. And I do like getting out and touching black. Might not be optimal, but I can't imagine it being too bad.
So can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I don't want to keep hijacking control at every moment. What is your honest opinion of this black move at face value?
I don't think it's a good move. Playing in a small area of the board up against a pretty strong group, so perhaps I shouldn't defend. I mean, as black, I would be much more interested in the top, where there's much more space.
Okay. Do you think that this move is 100% move, George? Well, if you had to give this stone a percentage, what percentage would you give it?
I'm entirely sure about how black can follow up there. I don't think he really can, to be honest. I'm going to say 60%.
60%? Right. And so if this is a 60% move, specifically because of the area of the board and the intent of the stone, two different things to look at. If I go back one move, what's the biggest side of the board right now?
I mean, the top is the most open.
Right. The top is the biggest in terms of area. The next open, like next most open space?
I guess the left.
The left side, right? Third most open space?
The right.
The right, and the last most open space.
I mean, there's the corner. Top right.
We'll call it the bottom, because we're looking at the side of the board, right? So as far as
I was thinking of like R17, that corner.
As far as the sides of the board go, black just played in the least valuable of all four places.
Yeah.
In
So I
terms
probably
of
shouldn't.
space, to be taken, but also intent. When we play a stone, especially a stone in Gote, we should still have some purpose for it. What is the purpose of black M3? Put yourself in black's perspective. What is black trying to do here?
I mean, there's a possible kind of cover, a way that black could perhaps cover white by playing at P4.
Okay. And now my follow-up question to that is, why should you care about it? Does that negatively impact you in any way?
Yeah, probably no really need. I mean, I'm
Right.
kind of in the center, like on the left, I have center axis. So
Right.
there's no big chance.
So this type of whole board analysis is important because if you can do this, and you can learn to do this quickly, you can recognize immediately that a move like M3 is just way too slow. This move is redundant with the move at 2. Black played 2 to stabilize the 3 stones in the corner. That area in the bottom left corner is already stabilized in Miai for black. So black didn't need to add a stone to defend it. But that's what M3 is doing. It's defending the bottom left corner again by further stabilizing the head position at 2. But also, the only follow-up it gives black is endgame against the corner, or the press from the center, should black decide to take that. But none of those two things are particularly important to white. White doesn't really care about what's going on in the bottom right corner because white has already extrapolated all of the profit white needed there. White took all the territory. Black has no real points in that corner to speak of. And this move at M3 does not impact the invasion on the right side all that much. Other than the fact that it actually creates another liability for black because now it's a low stone that white gets to attach on if a fight starts. That's a whole different can of worms of positional weakness that I'm not going to get into right now. But you can imagine, well, actually I'll get into it a little bit. You can imagine white pinch it, let me change the numbers so it can make sense. Pinch it 1, black jump at 2, white jump at 3, black jump at 4, white attach at 5. This stone has not positively contributed to black in any way at all, because now black has to deal with the fact that white just took a liberty from that stone, but also the 3 stones are being surrounded on a large scale, and black cannot answer both. It would be much better if that stone at M3 does not exist. Right? This is giving white an extra resource, not black. So this is what I mean by positional weakness of a low stone nearby. Another super advanced concept, but a pretty easy visual to explain nonetheless. But the key is just recognizing that M3 is a very low value place with no relative threat to speak of. And if you can recognize that quickly, then you can put your brain power into looking at the bigger areas of the board to find a much better line forward so that you're not spending the Sente that he so graciously gave you, making his bad move a better one. All right, sorry about that. Continue.
So we're here, and it's George's move.
So we go from here or from my move? What do you think?
Yeah, your move. Did you play M4? Do you want to? It's your move. You can play anywhere you want. Yeah.
Yeah, if you would like to omit M4, we can omit M4. I'll just go here and I'll cut it off the tree branch just so that way we don't get confused with where the main line is.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first thought is now the kick and the pinch on the top. It's the biggest area. And I wonder if P17 could be considered approaching a big area before coming in. Because I guess it does lend some support to those 2 stones, which gives us more opportunity to use them to bother that O17 stone. I see no reason not to play the pinch high.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'm playing behind enemy lines. We play the two space.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I actually, before that move, before Black's last move, I was actually already behind enemy lines. But I don't think that was really an issue somehow.
Yeah. Locally, the tactical detail, right, that's going to make this easy for White is the fact that the skirt is open. So White has kind of always got this this sort of backdoor semi-sente to settle. I say semi-sente because White can play around h17, but Black doesn't necessarily need to respond. The group in the corner is not at risk of dying. But if White gets enough moves in the area, then Black will eventually need to add moves. So sometimes it's in Black's interest to add a move sooner rather than later. But because White always has that backdoor to settle, the pinch at L16 is not really an easy stone for Black to attack. But Black tries to prepare attacking when Black jumps here.
So has Black actually attacked my single stone by playing that move? I don't think that was really an area I could have run in. So I had the option for jumping one, of course, and I have the option for sliding h17. So I only really see two options for how, I think. And the h17 move, as you say, doesn't really put much pressure, I don't believe, on the black stones. So I'm thinking just jumping out the one space.
Okay.
Okay, now I really am surrounded on the corner. And this also kind of prepares to cap me at L12. Am I bothered about that? I didn't respond in the bottom right-hand corner. That means he perhaps could cover and perhaps build something in the center.
Yeah. I would suggest employ the kiss method here.
Keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Then I guess just jump.
Well, think about it this way. What move on the board, if you were Black in this position, would you like to play next?
I think cap.
Cap is one choice, but what else?
Something. I'm thinking J17, J16, but
right. It's going to be one of. It's going to be one of these two, right? And as far as attacking goes, which one do you think is going to be more productive and or impactful from the Black side of things?
I guess B, because if we let White slide on the top, White's, I think, going to be pretty much fine.
Right, and if Black plays B, then White doesn't have a base, right? White's floating in the center.
Yeah.
So A will keep you floating. And A is a move that we like to play when we're inside a strong area and we can't make a base and or have a follow-up surround attack on our opponent. But in this situation, we can make a base and we don't have a follow-up attack on our 12. So it wouldn't really make a lot of sense for White to jump again. In this case, it would make more sense to take the base. And plus, taking the base is going to be a little bit better anyway, because when Black comes to B, Black is going to make about 15 points of territory immediately. And when White plays around h17, Black's territory is going to reduce in the corner significantly as well. So there's a fairly big impact on the score at the B area versus the A area, which is mostly Dame.
Yeah.
Any objections with that thinking, Lance?
No. I am concerned about my corner, though.
The upper right corner? Yeah. This corner, I will say, I don't know if this is going to ease your fear, but go ahead and play your next move, George, and then I'll sort of wait for Crazy Stone's reply, and then I'll go over the corner. So I want to see if the AI actually tries to attack it. Okay, it doesn't. We can rest a little bit easy with this type of thing because at any point this block is going to be enough to live most of the time. And also this attachment can create a ko, which makes things a bit lighter for white.
Yeah.
So even though this looks like it's a kind of scary move, white doesn't actually have to be worried about it. And then at any point, if white gets sente, white can always do ABC to fix it. Okay.
Okay, so black is touching my weak group. I'm happy about that. The two moves that come to mind first are pushing at G17 and then pulling back at J17. If I pull back at J17, it gives them a nice shape move at G17. And I guess my two-stone is pretty light. And I quite like coming in at J17.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can come in at G17 because of course he also has this the cut at G16 to deal with. So I don't think he has time to try to cause complications. And my two-stone is quite light in the center.
Okay.
Okay. So going in any further doesn't seem to really lead anywhere. Doesn't seem to give me a very valuable follow-up. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is the Hane at J16. But I never quite like in this situation that I'm just taking a liberty from a strong group. So that makes me think of just pulling back at J17.
Okay.
Because the Hane also gives him sente moves.
Okay. I would say when you want to get the Hane in, you're better off playing the Hane now. Because if black connects, you're never playing this move. It's too slow.
Yeah.
White's always either going to leave the position as is and play away, or white's going to extend to the center, or white's going to play like this knight's move or some such. But white is never going to push here. And if black extends and you go here, black is never wanting to connect this way either, because then this exchange is just purely profit for white.
Yeah.
So in cases where it's like that, I would always recommend playing the Hane. You don't really have to think about it. If you want the Hane exchange, take it now, because this is going to be the best timing you're going to have to play it.
Okay.
Because now the problem that you're going to run into in this shape is that later black wants to play A. And white would like to answer at B, but then you get C, D, E, F, and the white group locally is 1i. Right? So.
Okay.
Oh. Bless you.
So again, black has put my group behind enemy lines, but I don't think I'm really too concerned about that. I've at least one eye already, and I still have the E18 move as a kind of a backup. And this doesn't seem to really, I don't think this changes the situation on the left-hand side with C12.
Okay.
So therefore, I believe I have sente. O18 comes to mind, but then that's going to hurt my group on top, so I don't like that. Don't know what to play. I mean, if black does get that cap and sente, that's something I really want to avoid. But Chipping out seems to just be dame, and it's not going to be responded to. So yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Do you have anything you'd like to add on the position, Lance?
For me, when we analyze every move, everything starts turning into mud.
Okay, so we can just let George play and then
But
analyze
the things coming to my mind are Black has this center he can develop. And then when we look at the cap, it's like, wow, this is, so I'm starting to get pretty interested in not letting Black develop this center.
Okay.
So coming out does make sense, or just making sure it's not Sente. I desperately want to play here and turn the left into cash. Maybe we play it this way to get in the center as we're trying to. So it's just all these ideas, right?
Okay. I like that perspective. Generally speaking, this is a good rule of thumb to think about. Center-oriented strategies require something very, very important in order to work and Go. Do you know what that is, George?
Can you say it one more time?
Center-oriented strategies require something very specific in order to work at Go. Do you know what that is?
I mean, if we want to do something in the center, ideally we don't want to do it in Gote. We don't want to play Gote exchanges.
Right.
In order to do so, we want to attack, basically.
So we need to attack something. Does Black have a target?
Yeah.
Right. So if Black is going to turn this center potential into efficient territory, Black is going to do it by attacking his target. So if you want to play effectively a territory versus influence style like this and not get into trouble in the majority of your games, one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself is remove your opponent's attack targets before they have a chance to attack them. Now, there's two ways you can do that Lance pointed out. You can jump or you can block. And one of these moves is objectively better than the other.
I like the B and M17 because we're taking some profit, and it makes Black A look silly.
Right.
So Black will never have time to get both moves in.
Right. When you play B, it's just finished. So as far as I would be concerned, B is the only move. Because if you take it, not only are you getting more cash, right? Because all that territory Black was going to have the chance to slide under and rob, you're now getting. You still have the follow-up at E18 for endgame, and it removes his eyes in the corner a little bit. His Black group in the upper left is still not, I mean, it's going to be fine. It's not going to die, but you're going to be able to get some more profit bothering it later. And like you mentioned, the other big benefit, Black can no longer block at A and Sente. Black's going to have to block there and Gote, which makes the center significantly less scary than it otherwise would be. So that would be my input on this position.
Yeah, I like B. So am I allowed to go B?
Yeah, if you want to. And then what I'm going to do is just clean up the tree. There we go. This is not where Crazy Stone actually played, right? Okay, good. And then I'll just clear this one. Boom.
Well, I don't want Black to come in. But I guess I just block. I'm just thinking I don't think that's a good move, but I'm just trying to work out why it's not a good move. So if I block, or perhaps I'm not going to. I think I have to block, but I'm not quite sure why that's not a good move, and I'm almost certain it's not a good move. I believe Q18 is the move. Uh, but of course, N18 has helped in this position. So if I play Q18, he cuts. I drop down to R18. He takes. If he takes, I'm fine, because then I can Atari, and I think I'm good. My concern is if I play Q18, he cuts, I drop down, and then he drops down to S17. And then if I connect, then he can kill those stones, I believe. This might be a terrible move. Okay. I think he probably should have dropped down to R18, and that would have been worse for me. Because now I get the Atari, which I'm very happy about.
I assume that's Chris showing some positions.
Yeah. Okay. I should have looked into that more. Yeah.
Okay, I need to turn this game into this move. So whatever you do on this board, I'll make Crazy Stone do. George, is this where we're at in the game?
I mean, that was Chris's move. I played good at Atari. I do prefer Chris's move.
Do it.
So let's play this. Oh, okay.
Giving us easy life. Thank you so much.
This is one down. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
And that's just game over. Right? At this point, for you to get a living group in Sente, and black gets nothing. So you can play anything now, and it's pretty much game over because you just have more points. Does that sound agreeable?
Yeah, I guess I would feel quite confident here. Yeah. I have quite some points. Black doesn't really have much. Yeah.
So if black has this for later, right? So later on, black might get in game and affect the corner. So if black just plays away now to wherever he's deciding to play away to, then I would say it's still a game.
Yeah.
But the way he played, that's pretty much game over. Sounds like we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
So thank you, George, for being our guinea pig.
No problem.
Letting a strong
Chris,
player.
do you still have sound?
I can hear you.
Oh, I can't hear Chris.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't realize my headphones were muted. I said,
Okay.
I said, yeah. If the game goes something like this, it'd probably be a different story.
Right.
The game would be much closer to even, but yeah, giving up the life in Sente like this
It's just horrible. Yeah, horrible.
yeah, like this just loses a whole move, and then when white just finishes the left now, there's nothing more that black can do productively, and everything that black tries to do in the center to build territory has to come in Gote. Plus, white can get in here, white can get in from this wedge, white can get in this way, white can get in this way. Like there's too many doors, and black shape is actually still just too thin in the center to really get anything. At this point, white's winning probably close to 30 points just off the cash that white has alone, because you take the value of the center divided by 4 roughly, and then that's about what black can expect there, and that's not enough for all of white's territory.
Okay. Thank you, George. Thank you, Chris, for instructing us.
Great.
Thank you for including me with your discussion and your Sunday videos.
Yeah. Okay, viewers. Hope it was educational. Catch y'all later.
Cool. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.